All right, let's dive into some Hindu mythology. Today, we're looking at the story of the descent of the Ganges River,
Mm,
as told in the Brahma Purana.
okay.
So, this ancient text tells the story of a king and his quest for heirs and this
Yes.
river that comes down from the heavens.
Yeah, it's a story told by the sage Narada to Brahma,
Okay.
and it's more than just like a cool story. It's got all these themes and symbolism and cultural significance.
I mean, you've got a king with like 60,000 sons.
Oh yeah,
You've got a sage who can turn them to ash with just a look.
R for sage.
Yeah, and a river that lives in Shiva's hair.
That's right.
Wild.
So we start with King Sagar, who was desperate for an heir, and he performs this Ashvamedha Yagna,
Okay.
which is a horse sacrifice.
Oh, wow.
And it was super important for a king's power and authority in ancient India.
So it's not just about like a personal ambition to have kids?
No, not at all.
It's like tied into his duty?
It's all about duty to his ancestors
Yeah.
and continuing the lineage. So the Ashvamedha Yagna, if it works,
Yeah.
it would not only like solidify his power in the world,
Man.
but also ensure the spiritual well-being of his forefathers.
So the stakes are pretty high.
Yeah,
And then he gets 60,000 sons.
he does. You'd think that would solve all his problems, right?
Well, you would think so, but
Yeah.
having that many heirs, it can be a source of turmoil.
I can imagine.
Think about all those personalities and the rivalry.
Yeah, just the chaos.
Exactly.
So then Sagara kicks off this big horse sacrifice. He sends his sons to go guard the sacrificial horse.
Yeah.
And of course, the horse disappears.
Of course.
Talk about a recipe for disaster.
Total disaster.
Right.
The sons are just totally consumed by their duty.
Mm-hmm.
And, maybe a little arrogant, too.
A little bit, yeah.
And they go on this crazy search for the horse.
Yeah.
They end up in the underworld.
Oh, wow.
And they find the sage Kapila just meditating.
Oh.
They just assume, oh, he's the thief.
Gotta be him. Gotta be. And they attack him.
Big mistake.
Huge mistake.
Right.
Kapila, with like one look,
Oh, my God.
turns all 60,000 sons to ash.
Whoa.
Instant karma.
Wow.
It shows that whole concept of consequences for your actions,
Yeah,
which is a big theme in Hinduism.
definitely. And this is where the story shifts
Yeah.
from the king's ambition to like a tale of redemption.
Right.
We meet Bhagaratha, a descendant of King Sagara, and
Yeah.
he takes on this monumental task of trying to free his ancestors.
I know, talk about commitment.
Yeah.
He really embodies this idea of generational redemption, driven by duty and a longing to heal the wounds of the past.
Yeah. He just goes for it head on.
He does.
Do you think it was just duty that fueled him, or
Yeah.
was there any guilt in there knowing his ancestors were suffering because of what they did?
That is an interesting question.
Yeah.
I mean, the text focuses on his devotion, but
Yeah.
I mean, maybe there was some responsibility,
Right.
maybe even some guilt in there.
It would make sense.
Yeah, it definitely adds a layer of complexity to him.
So how does he plan to free 60,000 souls?
Well, this is where penance comes in.
Okay.
Bhagaratha goes through this intense tapasya.
Intense.
Oh, yeah, he's meditating for thousands of years.
Thousands of years.
Thousands enduring all this hardship
Wow.
just to gain divine favor.
It's hard to even imagine that kind of dedication.
I don't know.
Like, we want everything instantly these days.
Instant gratification.
Yeah. Bhagarath is the opposite of that.
Complete.
And it pays off.
It does.
Shiva, the destroyer god, is moved by his devotion.
Yes, he is.
And so there's a river involved somehow, right?
Yeah, so Shiva, moved by Bhagaratha, agrees to release the Ganges from his locks
Okay.
and let the river flow down to earth.
So the Ganges is not just any river.
No, it's no.
It's like divine intervention.
It's purity and redemption.
Yeah.
The Ganges is revered as the goddess Ganga,
Okay.
and she cleanses and purifies and connects earth to heaven.
Wow.
Bathing in her waters is supposed to wash away sins. Yeah. And grant liberation from the cycle of rebirth.
So it's like liquid grace.
Exactly,
Yeah.
flowing from the divine to the earthly realm.
That puts a whole new spin on going for a swim.
Right.
But there's more to it.
There is.
The Ganges doesn't just flow in one stream.
You got it.
It splits.
Yeah, it splits into two rivers.
Okay.
Yeah.
So before we get into that,
Right.
we'll pause here, and when we come back, we'll explore what that split means and what this epic story tells us about our search for redemption.
Sounds good.
So we're back and thinking about this river coming down from heaven to purify and redeem.
It's powerful imagery.
It is.
It really shows how connected the natural world and the spiritual realm are in Hindu thought.
Yeah.
The Ganges isn't just water.
Right.
It's like this living being
Mhm.
embodying the divine feminine, the life-giving force.
You know, it makes me think about other cultures and how they have sacred springs and holy wells.
Yeah?
These places where people go to connect with something bigger than themselves.
It's a human thing, I think.
It seems like it...
The Ganges in this story is that connection point
Yeah.
between humans and the
Divine.
physical and the spiritual.
Right.
It's like grace you can touch.
And it's active in the story.
Oh, yeah. It's not passive at all.
It shapes what happens to Sagar's sons
Right.
and brings about their redemption.
Exactly. It shows that the divine is involved in our lives.
Yeah.
It responds to our actions, our struggles.
Do you think if Bhagirath hadn't been so devoted that the Ganges would have come down at all?
That's a good question.
Like, did his actions force the divine to act?
It makes you think about free will and destiny.
Yeah.
A debate that's been going on forever.
Forever.
But this story suggests that our actions can affect things,
Really?
even on a cosmic level.
So we're not just puppets.
Maybe not.
We can shape our own destiny,
It's possible.
both individually and as a group.
Yeah. Bhagirath's story is about human agency,
Okay.
the power we have to change things even when it seems impossible.
It's inspiring but kind of scary, too.
I know.
Makes you think about what we leave behind. Are we adding to suffering, or are
Yeah.
we making things better?
It's something to consider, for sure.
Yeah.
This story wants us to think about the impact of our choices,
Okay.
not just on us, but on everyone around us
And future generations.
and generations to come.
Okay, so before we go too deep,
Yeah.
let's get back to the Ganges splitting into two rivers.
Right.
You mentioned the Godavari and the Bhagirathi.
Yes.
So was that just a way to put real geography into the myth, or is there something more symbolic about it?
It's probably both.
Okay.
I mean, by using real places, the myth feels more real to people,
More grounded.
more grounded,
Right.
right? But the split could also mean something.
Like what?
One idea is that it represents the two sides of existence,
Okay.
the earthly and the divine,
Mm-hmm.
the material and the spiritual.
Right.
The Ganges comes from heaven and carries that divine essence.
Yeah.
But when it comes to earth, it splits,
Uh-huh.
recognizing that we live in both worlds.
So it's like Sacred Tower has to adapt
Yeah,
when it comes to Earth.
it has to.
It has to flow in different ways to reach everyone.
Exactly. And it also suggests that there are many ways to connect with the divine,
Oh, interesting.
many ways to find liberation.
Okay.
It's inclusive,
Yeah.
acknowledging that people have different experiences and different ways of seeking spirituality.
It's like rivers in real life.
Yes,
They split and make new tributaries
they do.
and nourish different ecosystems.
Right.
Maybe divine grace is like that.
It could be.
It comes into the world and manifests in different ways.
It's a beautiful thought.
Affects everything.
It shows how dynamic both the physical and the spiritual realms are.
Right.
It's all connected.
This is really helping me understand this myth.
I'm glad.
It's amazing how one story can have so many layers.
It is.
You've got history, geography, philosophy, spirituality,
It's all woven together,
all in one story.
and we've only just scratched the surface.
I know.
Hindu mythology is huge. All these stories with different perspectives on life and the universe.
So let's take a minute to think about all this.
Okay.
And when we get back, we'll wrap up our look at the descent of the Ganges
Right.
and talk about how this ancient story is relevant to our lives today. So we've gone from the underworld to Mount Kailash. We've seen the Ganges come down from heaven, and Sagara's sons finally get redeemed.
Quite a journey.
It's left me thinking about how powerful this story is and all this symbolism.
It really is a remarkable tale.
Yeah, and as we've gone through it, it's obvious that this myth is about something we all feel. That yearning to connect to something bigger than ourselves, the desire to fix things, the search for meaning in a world that can be pretty crazy.
It is about all of that.
You know, when we started, I thought we'd be talking about the religious stuff, mostly.
Right.
But it's so much more.
It is.
It's about being human,
Yeah.
the choices we make, the impact they have, the possibility of healing, even when things seem really broken.
And that's what makes these myths last.
Yeah.
They go beyond a specific culture or time. They speak to everyone.
So let's think about what this means for our listener.
Okay.
We've talked about the symbols, the history, the philosophy.
We have.
But how do we connect this ancient story to our lives today?
That's the big question, right?
It is.
How do we bring these old stories into the present?
Yeah.
What's interesting is that even though it's from a different time and place,
Right.
the themes still resonate with us.
I mean, we might not be trying to bring a river down from heaven,
Right.
but we all face challenges.
We do.
We mess up and we
Yeah.
want to make things right in our own lives.
We want resolution.
Bhagaratha's journey wasn't easy.
No, it wasn't.
It took so much effort.
Dedication.
Yeah, commitment, even help from the gods.
He had to rely on others.
But he did it.
He never gave up.
He never gave up. That's inspiring.
It is.
What if we faced our own challenges like that?
With that much determination.
Yeah, what would happen?
It's a good question.
I think about those people who dedicate their lives to something bigger. They work so hard to make a difference even when things are tough.
They face setbacks.
They're like modern-day Bhagarathas.
They are.
They have this vision and they won't let go of it.
It's not always about big actions or achievements, though.
Right.
Bhagavaratha reminds us that even small acts of kindness, compassion,
Yeah, just sticking with it.
perseverance,
We can make a difference.
can ripple out and change things.
Makes me think of that saying, be the change you want to see.
It's a good one.
We all have the power to make things better, even in small ways.
And Bhagavaratha wasn't alone.
True.
He got help from the gods. He had others supporting him.
It shows how important community is.
He does.
Connecting with people who get us,
Who inspire us.
who help us along the way.
Because even the hardest things are easier
Yeah,
when we're working together
towards something good.
for the common good.
Like Bhagaratha found strength in his connection to his ancestors. We can find inspiration in the stories from the past.
They guide us.
So as we wrap up our look at the descent of the Ganges, we're left with this idea that we all have the potential to be great.
We do.
We can love, sacrifice, persevere.
Mm.
We might not have to bring a river down from heaven,
Right.
but we can try to live in a way that brings those qualities into the world.
Makes a positive impact.
Our actions matter, our choices matter,
They do.
and even when things are tough.
Redemption is possible.
This has been an amazing exploration,
I agree.
and we hope you've enjoyed going deep into Hindu mythology with us.
There's so much more to discover.
Here is. Don't stop here. Keep asking questions.
Keep diving deeper.
Until next time.